Good evening, everybody. Feels like it's been a lot longer since I've streamed than it actually has been, and I think that's because the Monday stream was not quite up to the standard that I'd like to keep this channel. Oh. Alright, well, I know the audio's working. So yeah, if I'm completely honest with you, I don't think Monday's stream was quite to the standard I'd like to keep the channel, so I apologize for that. I have got a little bit more of a stable life and school schedule now, so we are going to start this off right by jumping into Crusader Kings 2, and I think it's going to be Crusader Kings all night tonight, so if you find the game a little dull, I don't blame you, but that's what I'm doing here. There are going to be a couple of announcements tonight. I just need to sort of get myself sorted out. We'll talk about those for a quick moment, and then we'll jump straight into the games. Hope everybody's doing okay. I can't actually see chat at the moment, but that usually resolves itself in a second. There'll also probably be some doubled up dialogue in a second, just while I confirm the settings. Alright. I know why I'm having the problems. I'm not in my dashboard. Alright. I should just get one last bit of my droning voice and I can start talking about a couple of changes that are coming up to the well, they're not even really changes to the stream. Just a couple of new features that have come in thanks to some of the help from the good people in Team Panda. And just kind of plans moving forward, so I think probably the best way to handle this is just to make this a highlight and anybody who wants to see it can go through. So I've got the obviously you've been a member of Team Panda for a while. There's actually 2 new members there. I do my best to host people from Team Panda when I'm not streaming myself, but if you've not done so already, you can click the link above in the title. It'll give you all of the streamers on Team Panda right there. They're all very good people. They're not, much like me, they're not selected for their wide audiences or any of their although that's not to suggest that everybody on Team Panda has my limited viewership, but basically they are contributing members of the community for a partnered streamer, Seriously Clara, who is a great friend of this stream's, and I would strongly recommend that you go and follow her. She's currently at PAX East, so will not be streaming at the moment, but definitely somebody who has helped me kind of grow a little bit as a streamer and make sure that I've had a very supportive community to help me out with. So with that in mind, I have certainly gotten the benefit from members of Team Panda, and I think it only fair to mention the 2 new members. I believe it's Leet Paste and JD Badass, if I'm not mistaken, are the 2 new members. Toriden, how's it going? Alright, so I guess I better get on to the Elder Talks. Body64, how's it going? Thanks for stopping by the channel. I was just getting through a little bit of housekeeping before jumping into Crusader Kings 2, so I don't believe I've seen you on the channel before. Thanks for checking it out. I'll try and get into the game as soon as I can, but changes are afoot, so I need to address those. So with the help of Black Dahlia and also Jesse Quill, again, both wonderful streamers. Actually, was just hosting Black Dahlia, if any of you were hanging out a little bit earlier. They finally helped me get Twitch alerts working. So theoretically, during this broadcast, when people hit the follow button, you'll be seeing some animations and, I don't know, animated GIFs and just generally giving people a little bit more credit. And with that in mind, I had gotten a couple of very kind messages from some members who were asking, or rather observing, that there was no way to support the stream. Now, I'll talk about this very briefly because I think this is a little bit of a touchy subject, especially on a channel like my own. The original, not goal, but the original setup for this channel, and the reason why I started streaming was because I was helping out with the Extra Life Children's Hospital fundraiser, specifically for the BC Children's Hospital, which is located in the city that I currently live. Now, I don't think, from my own view, this is not to comment on any other streamers, but I think it's wrong for me to start an initiative which is dedicated to raising money to a children's hospital, and then immediately below that put, oh, by the way, put some money in my pocket. So with that in mind, for the duration of that challenge or that initiative, I didn't have a donation button, which was fine because I didn't have any means of setting up donations anyway. That has long... Oh my goodness, Jesse Quill is hosting. Thank you so much, Jesse Quill. Some people had mentioned in messages that they wanted a means of supporting the channel. I won't say who because I definitely do not want to create any expectations or that. But it came up. I also talked with Clara and W. Shand, and they said that if people are asking, you should probably give them a means of doing so. So, in addition to the following notification, there will be a donation notification. As it says down below, they are always appreciated and they will never be solicited. I have set up the stream to make sure that I am able to continue doing this on my own without any external support. And this is more of my response to a request rather than me making a request. The best thing that anybody can do on this channel is be present in the chat room and interacting, because the compliment that I get from people is interaction with chat. The benefit that I get from doing this is interaction with chat. And as long as you guys keep doing that, that will make this one of the most rewarding things that I can do on Friday nights and otherwise. So, I believe that is everything to go through. For those of you who didn't hear on Monday, I have been accepted into 3 grad programs now. So no decisions in terms of where I'm going to be heading for further schooling, but that's some pressure off of me. And overall, things are a little bit more optimistic than they were a few weeks ago. So we're going to celebrate by conquering some lesser peoples. Because this is a little bit... I was going to say, I've also noticed that there is a lot of... there's been a long time since I played this game. And... Oops. Let me turn off those Steam notifications. With that in mind, one of the reasons for that was there's going to be a bit of a gap for anybody who's watching the previous... anybody who's watching the previous... sort of episodes of this on YouTube or anything like that. Oh, all the grad programs. Set up a mud pit and have the place to send representatives to fight for my schooling. Yeah. One of the schools I got into actually... So here's the thing that happened. I literally spent... Torgen, thank you so much. It sounds like the audio is not working. That's interesting. So it seems like the audio for that follow is a lot later than the animation. I'm gonna have to figure that out. So thank you so much for the follow though, Torgen. We are, I believe, 5 members away from... Oh, you wanted to test my thing. Okay, fair enough. So no, we're still 6 members away. Thanks for doing that test though. It's good to know that the audio is not syncing up. I don't want to spend too much more time messing around with it because I've already taken a big long chunk just to talk about all the stuff going on. But yeah, so I literally spent about $1,000 applying to schools. And one of the reasons for that was I was feeling quite unconfident in terms of sort of what I'd be bringing to the table to grad programs. The second school to accept me is in the top 4 in Canada. So all of a sudden, all of these other schools that are accepting me are kind of like, well, yeah, but you're not as good as Western. So I've been sending some very kindly worded rejection letters to the other schools, but I feel like one of my friends, you know, said to me too, it's like, yeah, you just wasted a lot of money, didn't you? And I'm like, well, you know, I seem to have a lower estimation of my my academic abilities than those evaluating me. So what can I say? I guess that's the definition of humble bragging, but suffice to say, I was not expecting, like, if I was feeling the ideal situation would be to get into one top 5 program in Canada. But there you have it. So, I promised I was going to do a little bit of a review because there's going to be a gap in the VODs, and we've got a few new people coming in, so it's worth maybe just doing a quick review. I didn't have the Charlemagne expansion when I started this campaign, so we began in the Old Gods in 867 as the Count of Westmoreland. The goal of this is one of the first Iron Man games that I've played. There's obviously a couple of... Thank you so much, Torgen. I know it's Torrigan. I always keep saying Torrigan just because it's the way I read it. I'm sorry. I'll eventually get your name's pronunciation correct. But basically, the goal of this... So there's 3 Iron Man games that I'm playing right now. This is the second ever Iron Man game that I played. And definitely the longest in terms of sort of getting stuff done. And the whole goal of this was to go from the count of a single region to an empire and basically see how much I could do with the this empire. So as you can see, we have founded the Empire of Britannia. We've got a couple of targets in mind, but what I'm going to do now is actually move into the game and talk a little bit about what's happened to the kingdom since the last time we broadcast this many moons ago. For those of you looking for historical accuracy, you are about to be horrified. So, if I remember correctly, this gentleman was not the Emperor of Britannia when we last left. I believe it was this terrible individual who murdered his way through to greatness. Basically what happened was my game kept crashing the last time I was playing this. And so, 1, we were dealing with corrupted save files. 2, we were dealing with... we're just dealing with a generally frustrating stream where like it had to shut down every, half hour or so, and just we weren't making any progress. But what we were doing with the previous generation was very deliberately provoking fights. Ewok Fuzzy Nuts and Spoonman, welcome to the stream. Thanks a lot for stopping by. We're doing a quick recap of what happened last time around. We'll maybe talk a little bit about the history of the House of Rose before we jump into our next few plans. But basically, the whole purpose of the previous guy, I'm pretty sure... Yeah, I know how this turned out. So basically, he would very deliberately provoke people into wars and use that to strip their titles. And when he couldn't provoke them into a war, he'd just strip the titles away anyway. So the whole plan behind that was to basically take all of the titles that I could, take them away from nobles, and put them into the hands of family members, with the intention of improving the prestige of the House of Rose. So I currently possess the title of the Empire of Britannia, or the Emperor of Britannia. I have the kingdoms of England, Scotland, and Ireland, and Wales. My 2 duchies are Lancaster, which is this area right here, and Northumbria, to the north here. And then I basically have all of the counties inside of these areas. There was a period where I didn't own Durham, but that is no longer the case. Basically, I own all the titles that I have the duchies to. The whole idea here is that the smallest unit would actually be something like a town, but the smallest unit that you're practically going to deal with in this game is a county. So anything that's sort of divided by these borders here. Counties can get built into duchies. These are the de jure duchies. This means that this is by convention, this is what they are, although the de facto duchies may be different. And then, again, the idea here would be there's the de jure kingdoms, although de facto is a little bit different here. Again, also doesn't matter because I have the Empire of Britannia, so I basically own all of this stuff anyway. So what you'll notice here is basically if you click on any of these duchies, you will see a little drop of blood here, and that's just because he's a member of my dynasty. Now, generally stealing titles from your nobility is an unpopular move, so unsurprisingly, while I was finishing this stuff up offline, this gentleman died under mysterious circumstances on the 22nd of July, 1153. You're 132nd Welsh, so you own a bit of me? Absolutely I do, Spoon Man. Bow to your king. So yeah, Emperor Ecbert the Accursed of Britannia basically got the crap murdered out of him because he was generally a bad guy who'd provoke fights in order to steal land from this nobility. But, excuse me, we own Britannia. The House of Rhodes completely owns it. The only reason why there are people who are not members of my bloodline is because the pansies I gave the title to decided to give it to basically make new counts. So I don't actually directly control this count. I don't control anybody, but basically what I did was I gave every single piece of land to a member of my bloodline, and they in turn wound up creating new counts because they apparently couldn't handle the responsibility. Ewok Fuzzy Nuts, I believe Crusader Kings 2 does have the Game of Thrones mod. Now, from what my understanding is, it only works with a particular version of the game, and so I haven't wanted to mess around with the versions of the game until I'm sort of done this playthrough. You only get achievements in this game if you play on Iron Man mode, and if you corrupt the save file, it doesn't count your achievements anymore. So I'm really gun-shy about putting in mods. But if you haven't seen this game, you'll see why it makes such a good setting for Game of Thrones pretty quickly. So, as I like to do, so this is basically my explanation in terms of why, if you either remember the last time we played this, or if you go back and check any of the VODs, why there's suddenly a jump in terms of emperors. It's basically we lost a little bit of progress the last time it crashed. I wanted to get the kingdom back to where it was supposed to be. The kingdom went to hell. I basically had to fight like 6 wars all at once, so I missed out on an opportunity to stream that. And we're now at a point where this guy is not entirely hated by everybody, just by most people. And we're able to start turning our sights elsewhere. So, as I like to do with any new ruler, we have got 2,912 prestige in the House of Rose. This is a significant jump from the previous time, and that is basically because the majority of living members now hold lands. And they don't just hold lands, but it's usually titles as the Duke of something. When did I become English? That's a good question, actually. So the story of Westmoreland, actually, was that we were first conquered by the Vikings. We fought for our independence a little bit after that, and we actually pledged allegiance to the kingdom, to the King of England, so we could start invading Lancaster and some of the holdings that he had. He made us I believe it was the Duke of, yeah, I believe it was the Duke of this area here. And what we actually wound up doing was we became the King of Scotland. We had a title on that based on a marriage, so we actually took over Scotland first through force, and then we basically slowly whittled down England until we could seize the title from them as well. So I don't actually recall the exact date when I became English, but as far as my heritage is concerned, I believe this guy's still Anglo-Saxon. Yeah. Have you met the Earl of Sandwich yet? I want to shake that guy's hand. I'm much more interested in meeting Lord Strap-on. Alright. Oh yes, and another important thing to remember is that my retinue, which used to be very big and strong, not so much anymore. I kind of lost them to some fighting. Alright. So let's talk a little bit about what the strategy is going to be for the next few turns. We own this island. That escalated quickly. Yeah. That's a Frankie Boyle joke that I stole. Man, this guy looks as unhealthy as I do, actually. So, there's a few things that I've been thinking about in terms of where I want to go. Right now, I don't have a son. So, the idea here would be that I start getting male heirs so I can start giving them titles. Actually, I guess I should start looking at laws as well. One thing at a time. But basically, my immediate conquest seems like Iceland is kind of the best bet. It's reasonably close. It's not going to get invaded that much. It just adds a couple more titles that, you know, I guess low risk, low reward. But basically, I don't need to worry about the Northwest ever again once I take that. What's a little less obvious is what I do after I have added Iceland to the Empire of Britannia. As you can see here, sort of these, we've got a very large Norwegian revolt, which is actually taking over basically the entire northern area. Norge is in a pretty weakened state. We can take a look at currently 360 in terms of levies. So these guys are effectively pushovers. If I can make it to Iceland, then I can make it to this island here. The thing that sort of concerns me about this is I'm ultimately committing myself to several long trips in order to get a meaningful toehold. It's absolutely fantastic that I have access to 25,000 troops, but if anybody decides to start causing me trouble, I need to get those troops across a body of water. Now, the same could really be said about any of those, but there's just something about sort of moving across like this, then kind of going up and around if I want to go onto the continent that just doesn't seem right. And of course, as you can see here, you've got some relatively strong figures. So in terms of Rus, well, they've got 10,000 troops, so I guess I could sort of wipe them out. Didn't really think that much about it. So this is appealing because of all of the revolts, but I think we can do better potentially. What about the Crusade? We will be going on the Crusade. I was gonna be kind of my next move to, in terms of the explanation. Or, well, sorry, my final move as far as the explanation. What did appeal to me here was the fact that Hispania is Islamic. Now, one thing that I don't quite understand about the mechanics here is that despite the fact that he is Sunni, so clearly a heathen who needs to be invaded, I can't seem to just declare war on him, which isn't immediately... Thank you for the retweet, Ewok Fuzzy Nuts. Thank you to everybody for the retweets, by the way. I don't actually check them as often as I should, but I noticed that particular one. So I guess the one thing that's not entirely clear to me is I can't declare holy war on this guy right away. Poopy Rad, hello. Indeed, as all heathens should be. So, I mean, the biggest appeal to me was that you've got this, like, what I love about this is that as long as you can sort of take the West Coast, again, there's not too many areas that you can be invaded from. Like, this is a fairly logical place to take over and sort of begin a slow conquest of Europe, right? As long as you sort of sew up this area, you're good. There's a little bit of a problem that Italy controls this region, but there's just so much area that I can take from the Muslim hordes that it's begging to be invaded. This is absolutely an area that I'm interested in taking over. Now, we have a crusade going on right now, so it's the crusade for Andalusia. Oh, and I am actually on this crusade, so good for me. I didn't know that I'd already selected that. The sort of the idea for joining the crusade was mostly to get in good with the Pope. Currently, I actually have the highest contribution to the crusade at a 46%. I want to make sure it stays that way, so I am going to raise more troops to contribute. However, I am not going to raise any vassals, just because I'd rather... Well, actually, I suppose the other argument would be I do raise the vassals, and that weakens these factions. But before I take care of the unpause, I am going to need to sort of deal with the affairs of state. So let's just make sure all my counselors are where they need to be. We were working on improving relations with Moray. I'm not entirely sure why. Let's train troops in Westmoreland. I still want to collect taxes. As you can see, the treasury is a bit light at the moment. I'm definitely going to need to use my spy master to deal with some of these factions. Effectively, I've got a massive hangover from the previous tyrant, so I am going to need to start breaking down some of these factions. None of them are really credible to threaten me yet, but that can change relatively quickly, especially given the fact that I'm going to be sending some of my troops on a crusade. You don't think you can declare war on him because I'm already at war with him? That would make perfect sense. Yeah, what I noticed, though, was when we weren't on the crusade, I didn't seem to be able to declare war on the Muslim Empire. But we'll deal with it later. At the very worst, I just need to send my chancellor to go and... I need to go and send my chancellor to go and fabricate a claim on one of the territories. It's a bit of a pain, but, you know, I can... there are definitely worse things for me to deal with. So the first thing I want to do is start dealing with some of these factions. The best strategy for me, at least, is to deal with the largest faction first, but also to consider who is a member of multiple factions. So, for instance, we've got Duke School of Essex. He seems to be involved with Duke School IV for Britannia, so he wants to basically take my role. He wants to lower crown authority in England, even though apparently he wants to control the place. And what else? Seems like it's two, but he's a perfect candidate, right? Because he's contributing forces to the largest faction, the most dangerous faction currently, and I sort of eliminate this faction for free once I get him to stop plotting. So he's currently in Essex, which is where my spy master is going to go and encourage him to reconsider the error. Consider the error of his ways. Next, we got to take a look at what my court chaplain is doing. Originally, I had him proselytizing because we had heresy in the realm. But it seems like we don't need to worry about that anymore. So what I'm going to do here is appoint successors for all of my bishops. And then I'll just sort of take a look at where I'm at as far as raising revenues. The one thing that I've really noticed about this game is that being emperor kind of sucks. You have the same number of counselors, but you have so many more problems that you need to deal with. So the drawback here is, as wonderful as it would be to get my chaplain to go and try and get the tax money from these guys, I'm going to be doing that forever, basically. So let's think about what we want him to do. The other thing that I could do is just research cultural tech, because the one thing that I've really been missing out on in this game, that's not where I wanted to put him, but fair enough. The one thing that I've really been neglecting in this playthrough because of all of the mercenary armies that I've been building has been the infrastructure. I've been meaning to build university. Actually, I think I started building my first university in... it should be in Lothar? Yeah, so we finally are making a university. I think we're making a university like 100 years after Oxford was founded, so... Golden rule, never trust the Chancellor, ever. Too true, Spoonman, too true. So, I think like 100 years after Oxford was founded, we actually started building our first university, so there goes historical accuracy for you. Although, I mean, the capital of the empire is Westmoreland, for God's sake, so take it or leave it. But yeah, my goals for this playthrough are going to be... first of all, I want to get my my contribution up for the Crusade. Once the Crusade is done, we will consider taking Iceland. Ideally, these conflicts are not going to be breaking the bank, so that I can start building up some reserves again And effectively what I'm going to be doing is, for my territories, I'm going to build those out first, especially tech-oriented improvements, because I really can't send my spy master to go steal research anymore. And kind of trying to match these twin goals of improving the improving the infrastructure while still expanding the territory. The biggest one I want to do is expand the territory as I have sons, because I want to basically be able to add more to the kingdom and give those titles to family members at a fairly rapid clip. If you played a historical game for historical accuracy, you'd play the old Encarta 94 disc you have lying around. Encarta, wow. Now, there's a side of me that says I should improve centralization because I have a stewardship 11. So improving the centralization is basically going to make me immune to a low stewardship. It's going to make me immune to a low stewardship ruler. The problem that I have with that is that'll put me right at the vassal limit, and I only plan on making more. So what I think I'm going to do is hold the centralization at medium for now and sort of see what happens as the game progresses. One way I could get around some of these vassal limits is to start relinquishing some of my kingdoms and start manipulating it that way. I'm absolutely not prepared to start giving up that kind of territory yet. So in this case here, I'm just going to stay the course as far as my laws are concerned. I don't really want to piss anybody else off, so I'm going to leave the taxation where it is. I'm just going to worry about kind of improving on my own on my own terms. We're about to attack the Muslims, so no, we're not going to improve tolerance. That'll probably be good to upgrade when we start taking over Muslim territories. I still don't know whether or not trade practices actually does anything if you don't have a merchant republic sending stuff to you or not, but I'm not really going to build anything inside of improved keep, so I might as well do trade practices on the odd chance it improves my bank, and I suppose I could do something like, actually learn how this game works. But more importantly, we're going to do the thing that you all came here for, which is make the war. So finally, after half an hour of introduction, we're ready to start kicking some ass. India needs an English emperor? I agree completely, Body64. My liege, since I arrived in Westmoreland, there has never been a shortage of soldiers reinforcing the troops stationed there. Under our guidance, they believe fame and fortune await them. Your humble marshal, Duke Cuthbert of Leinster. So first we'll tend to our own affairs, which is dealing with these Vikings. But we will assist with the reclamation of Andalusia. Graded Caucasian? I think Anti-Pope is a fantastic idea. I actually tried an Irish playthrough where I made an Anti-Pope. The only thing I didn't like was that I was in perpetual war. Now I have enough troops to actually be able to get over that problem. What I intend to do is set up an Anti-Pope when there's a benefit to me for it. I don't necessarily see one right now, so I'm going to hold off. But I like your line of thinking. So one drawback is I don't quite have enough ships to transport all of my troops in one go. My only dilemma is that I don't seem to be able to raise the vassal fleets without raising like all of them. So I think what I'll do is I'll just hold off. I'll just ferry my guys over onto I'll ferry my guys over on 2 trips. I also forgot to go over my plots, so I'm going to basically I'm going to end the plots for people that have a high opinion of me and keep the ones that don't have, basically keep the ones that have people who hate me. Now, the problem that I have here is that this is a family member. So I don't actually want that plot to go through. even if the people hate me, I try to keep family members alive, just because I want to keep that prestige up. I know the family prestige doesn't seem to be included in the overall score, but now see, this is a fantastic example. So this is my kinsman wants to kill. Now, admittedly, a steward, not my steward, but this guy has a negative 23 opinion of me, so I'm like, okay, you know what? Screw you. Alright. On with the war. Your Imperial Majesty, blessings on you and your house. I accept your demand. I will no longer back Sailrad's dubious plot to kill Egbert Sigmilson. I won't read all of it. Basically, I'll just do one reading of each message. Again, more groveling. More groveling. My liege, my mission to Moray so far has been a success. During my visit to court Gareth II of Moray, I seem to have managed to make him understand what benevolent and peaceful ruler you really are, and he sends his regards. Perfect. Ah, I forgot. Let's see what we're going to do. Oh, okay, so Duke Edric of Wessex... Oh, founded the Duke Markar for Britannia, so I've got more factions to deal with. Now I remember what I wanted to do with my Chancellor, so let's just take a look at my vassals. And I want to find somebody who's relatively young who really hates me, so I can basically just start sucking up to them. So I think Offa the Bold is a good example here, negative 69 opinion of me, and is not going to die like the guy who has a negative 89 opinion of me. So we'll get the Chancellor to go say nice things to him for a while. And I have a budget deficit. Crap. I hope that's just because of the fleet. Don't piss off Gandhi, he'll nuke you into the Stone Age. Yeah, something tells me I don't need to worry about nukes for a couple of millennia. Well, not a couple of millennia, you know what I mean. I gotta be kind of careful with this, because if the money is sufficiently tight, it's actually going to hurt me militarily. But I think let's just find a smart way to divide up this army. Yep. I think once I ditch the ships, I should be good to go. What I'm mostly concerned about is just contributing to the war score through battles. So as long as I pick like relatively easy to win ones, I shouldn't have to be too concerned. But I am bleeding cash right now, so I need to hurry the hell up. Again, this is where I'm sort of paying as far as infrastructure is concerned, because once upon a time, like if I went back and sort of redid everything. Actually, you know what? It doesn't really make any sense to do a second. Doesn't really make sense to do a second trip just for 877 guys. So let's just disband this and get my ships back into port. Then I can get a little bit of a better idea in terms of what Duke Moray wants to fabricate a claim on the Kingdom of Scotland. You say? Well, let him. Alright, what horrible images am I going to be looking at here? I'm no doctor, but if anyone here is going to save this man's life, it's the girl on the right. I would never want to belong to any club, but have someone like me. Somebody... Oh, Body64, thank you so much for the follow. Again, it looks like my notifications aren't quite working the way that I had intended. I heard the sound, but didn't see the image. Apologies if the rest of you did and I just wasn't paying attention. I guess I can find slightly more productive uses for these dudes. So yeah, basically at this point here, I say, you know, for the 800 troops, it's not really worth bankrupting my my kingdom. So we'll see where we're sitting as far as money's concerned once I tick down the time. Once I tick down the time with without a fleet. Put these guys back in the capital. Yeah, just 5 more followers to the big 100. I'm looking forward. All right, now that's a little discouraging. We've got a monthly balance of still negative 0.32. So again, like I said, this is an example of where, had I been a little bit smarter with some of my wars and not needed to hire mercenaries, that's stuff that could have gone towards building improvements in towns, which would have actually improved my revenue. So it's a little late to worry about it now. I think I'm just going to have to... Well, I mean, there's an easy fix to this, which is borrowing from the Jewry. That'll at least make sure that our... kind of make sure that we remain... Our morale is up so we can be effective in this war. I also should take a look at the personal holdings of the Emperor. So he's got Toledo and Illikas. So it looks like those are already under siege. I think at this point we just start roaming for more infidels. We found some. Theoretically, I could have actually just brought in a much smaller force, because in the end, I really don't need 6,000 troops to go taking on groups of 500. But on the other hand, what I don't want to do is suddenly run into like a 3,000 man army and find myself outgunned. So I'm paying for being overly cautious, a little bit like my grad school story, but it's still going to be contributing to that war score in a meaningful way. So I get a long run benefit from this in terms of my participation in the crusade. All right, my liege, I believe that one of your vassals can be discouraged from associating with conspiratorial factions if the proper leverage is obtained. How do you wish to proceed? We will threaten the vassal because we got 22 angry soldiers behind our words. Let's see if I can reassign my chaplain. I can. So he will research culture in my capital. Again, I'm not going to bother with moving around my chancellor because you can see there's no meaningful change that's happened to him. Hello, what's happening here? So Essex is taking something from my vassal. But I'm okay with that because Essex is a member of my dynasty. So yeah, the biggest thing that I want to see here is once this crusade is done, what does the map look like? Because this is really going to determine what where I start launching my invasions on the continent. At the moment, though, I can just keep improving my score through stomping the heathen hordes. Honored Emperor, I ask your forgiveness if I have done something to offend. I obviously wouldn't dream of associating with any faction conspiring against you or your enlightened rule. You are forgiven. Alright, one faction down. So Lower Crown Authority in England is still my main rival. It looks like Edric is the guy I want to work on next, just because he is in a similar position to the previous guy. He's leading one faction and contributing to the strongest rival faction. The usual formula for the Spy Master goes, he visits you once to ask nicely to stop participating in the faction. The second trip is generally a lot shorter and you don't usually see him. This is the kind of stack that I want to be taking down. The problem with taking out those stacks of 100 is that you don't really get that much of a contribution to the war score. Whereas if you take out a stack of 1,000, you get a pretty significant contribution to the war score. What that means is that this war is over sooner. I can disband the troops and I can start making money again. I finally stand before the destination of the crusade. With sword in hand, I am ready to storm the walls of Lisboa. Our armies now stand poised to take part in the crusade for the kingdom of Andalusia. Deus Vult! Special credit to anybody who can tell me what Deus Vult means without using Google. Look at all that war. This is exactly what we want to see. I think I'm going to sweep through the 250 first, and then we'll move to the 2500. I am crossing rivers, but I'm not so worried about that just because I outnumber them by such a ridiculous proportion. Okay, now I need to start worrying a little bit. What's happening here is we've got 1,600 troops over here, we've got 2,500 troops over here. I can handle that, but what you want to be careful about is if you don't keep watching where these troops are springing up, all of a sudden I can find them glomming together in a 6,000 troop stack. So this is fine. I will be crossing a river to deal with the people in Seville, but it'll still... I mean, again, I significantly outnumber them. There's also some reinforcements over here. So I'm willing to take that risk just to prevent everybody from getting together in Granada. All right, we can discourage another vassal. We can threaten them again, but in this case, I will obligate them because variety is the spice of life. Honored Emperor, thank you for reminding me of my duties and obligations as your vassal. You are right, of course. For the foreseeable future, you have my promise not to support any factions conspiring against you. Alright. I think I'm going to go for the greedy option and go to Granada and then contribute to the 2,500 here. The problem is that there's this stack of 800, which is inevitably going to wind up combining into another group, and I'm going to have to deal with them later, but if I can break this 2,500 stack, it'll help with the war score, and it will also give me a pretty significant contribution to the crusade. I want the Pope to like me before I set up a Pope of my own. And this is exactly what we're looking to avoid. So there's 7780 with these guys. Now it's 1749, so basically this is going to turn into about 10,000 troops strong that I need to deal with. And they're going to have a... At this point, they're going to have less than ideal morale. But if we don't... Like, if I don't have the reinforcements, this is going to turn really bad for us really quickly. Yeah, see, now we're going to be taking on 9,000 troops with 8,000. I don't want any part of that. But we do have the Teutons coming with us, so we'll just hold on for a minute. Wait till these guys arrive. This is actually really tempting to go to Almanza. So they'll arrive June 8th. Okay, perfect. And we've got the Pope on our side as well, so... We're taking a lot more losses than I would like, though. So hopefully the Pope gets his act together. There we go. So, total loss, 2,189 good Christians coming to meet their Maker, whereas 6,136 infidels are cast into the lake of fire. Exactly the sort of outcome that we want to see. Now, we're currently perishing because of the number of troops that we have in this territory, so let's just... I'm going on wars. I don't care about the affairs of my state right now. So I'm just going to start sort of running around and carving up the smaller groups that I can get again. I'll leave the sieging to the real Christians. If I was smart, I would have actually taken a look and seen where that that former Doom stack was heading. It would have been nice to crush them. Looks like that's already happened, though, so... Again, just doing our part to chase down whatever groups we can find and get that war score up. If we take a quick look, we're at 39% for the current conflict, and as far as contribution to the crusade, our percentage is lower, but we're still 10% higher than the next guy, and we went from something like 20,000 participation to 52, so... As long as we sort of keep up with this rate, we should be the top contributor to the crusade. And again, the way I'm ensuring that is by letting other people take over the territories, and I'm just doing everything I can to make sure that I take... I'm doing everything that I can to make sure that I just take out stacks of enemies. This is going to be another one that I'm a little bit concerned with, but we do have the Austrian army to come help, so we'll see how that turns out. I think we'll just go barreling straight towards them. It looks like I've got some good Catholics following me, so I'll take advantage of the fact that the AI seems to have decided that I'm going in the directions it wants. Again, when we're talking about war contribution, you'll notice that the 39 hasn't moved based off of those small engagements, but this 4,200 stack will definitely tip the scales in our favor. Again, we're crossing a river, but we're going to be backed up with the... I believe that's the Army of Brittany? Ah, so I've got a princess who I can marry off. Let's find... a Pomeranian, eh? I still don't want to keep it in the family, so I'm not going to marry her to the Duke of Albany. But an Italian ally might be interesting. Only problem is that the Italians... He's 5, so it's going to be 11 years before that marriage actually happens. Don't marry her to a heretic. So Bulgaria's out. I think I could do better than Poland, but honestly, none of these other... Oh, here we go. I can get an Italian alliance with a 54-year-old. Ah, but my prestige suffers, and I will do nothing of the sort. So let's go back to the top here. All right, Polish it is. Oh, my prestige still suffers. Does she maybe want to take the vows? All right, fair enough. I don't even know where the hell this guy lives, but it improves my prestige, so I'll marry her off to him. All right. To the Kindly Crusader, what a ridiculous title. Okay, Vikings are pillaging my lands, don't care, I'm on a crusade. Less than 1,000 good Christians in exchange for 3,000 Muslims. That sounds like a good day's work. Let's drive them into the sea, my friends. To the righteous crusader Bjorsid, sorry, I don't even know how to pronounce my own name. Blessings upon you and your house. We request that you honor your obligation and answer this call to arms against King Visvaldis of Lithuania. Declining would cost us 25 prestige. If we accept, we'd be part of the Third Pomeranian Holy War for Greater Poland. So he's basically taking advantage of the marriage right away. Fair enough, I'll accept. I mean, I'm already at war right now. I'm just not going to contribute any troops. And again, we'll continue with the good work. All right, more wars, you say. Dear brother-in-law, blessings on you and your house. Oh. My liege, during my stay in Westmoreland, I have found a great philosopher who has agreed to help me with my studies to enhance culture in the province. With your permission, I would suggest that we employ him. For 130 gold, sure, I'll empty my treasury for philosophy. And, okay, apparently I am declaring war on Italy as well. Italy I'm a little more concerned about. They're actually a somewhat credible threat. But looks like he's winning the war, so I'm not too worried about that. Your experience in matter of war has increased, and there will be many things that you do differently in future battles. What will you focus on? I can master flat terrain, cavalry, light foot, or heavy infantry. What does heavy infantry do? Decreases mounted troops, increases foot troops. I really like light foot, though, because of archers. But it also gives me a negative to heavy foot. So I'm actually going to do something different this time. I'm going to choose heavy infantry because I generally underuse my... Oh god, am I really fighting the Italians right now? Whoops. I probably should have thought a little bit more about that. Oh well. The Crusaders turn their swords on each other. Yeah, so who are the Austrians on the side of? I don't get it. Alright. On to killing more Muslims. Pope John Paul II has died and has been succeeded by Pope Clement II. And, as is a tradition in the House of Rose, 385.7 piety, so probably not going to outdo the Pope. Yeah, he's got 1,055. But hopefully by the end of his life, this 24-year-old will out-Pope the Pope. Man, I'm still fighting these guys, eh? This may be a problem. I believe I also forgot to move my Spy Master to the next faction, which I'm paying for now because there's a 70% faction that I need to deal with. Let's think about this a little bit. So we've got Aethbald of Ulster, Cedric of Connaught, Cuthbert of Leinster, and Henry the Just. So I think Henry is the one who's supporting the other factions. Yeah, so I think I'll start working on him. Again, realistically, I don't think I'm ever going to get over this faction problem. It's basically going to solve itself by people dying out. If I ever think that it's going to get to a point where they become a sufficiently large problem, I will raise as many troops as I possibly can in preparation for the revolution. But at this point, the best thing that I can do is continue contributing to the crusade. I'm at 25% versus 16%, so I'm actually losing a little bit of ground to Germany, but I should be able to overcome that. My bigger worry actually is the fact that I'm now fighting Italy on territory that's kind of their own. So ideally this crusade gets dealt with quickly and I can move on to slightly more pressing matters. I'd love to actually take on this stack right here, but the thing I need to keep in mind now is that every battle I engage in is going to result in my troops being locked into a position for a few turns. That means that the closer I am to the Italian border, the sooner there can be a 10,000 man stack coming to wipe my guys out. So it just means I'm going to stay a little bit closer to the center of Spain, even if that means giving up some ripe targets. We will obligate my vassal. This spy master is doing work. Normally they take a really long time to finish their mission. All right, this guy's groveling. Now I believe that spy master was so effective I can't move him, so it's going to be a few turns before I get that finished. But there's other stuff I can do in between. It started as an uneasiness around guests and strangers, then evolved into awkwardness and strong feelings of discomfort. So I don't want to meet new people. 45% I become shy, which gets my diplomacy -2, keeping in mind that I'm already borrowing from Jewish moneylenders, so... Excuse me 1 second. Spring is here. And I can say I'll just have to try to be more gregarious. In this case, gregarious is the more desirable of the traits. It's going to improve my diplomacy. And given my negative hit to Temple Vassal opinion, it's the more desirable of these options, so... I honestly can't think of a time where I'd voluntarily want the trait shy. Okay, I've got a dilemma here, to be completely honest with you. I am still going to run in, but the fact that there's 2,300 troops actually kind of spooks me. Looks like they're running, though. So we'll push this to our advantage. They are going to Malaga, and we'll meet them. Well, missed the opportunity. So as long as I keep in mind where the Italians are, I will actually pursue this, but I think the fight's going to be over before I'm able to contribute to that, which basically translates to a little bit of a drain on my war score. But we'll see what we can do. So they're going to be where they want August the 4th, and I'm going to arrive July 20th, so I'm actually going to get there in time. Unfortunately, the Italians are going to need to move through a couple of provinces of enemies before they can reach me, so we're in a fairly good spot. The battle has shown my true mettle. I am brave. Excellent. Again, this is kind of a precarious situation because they don't need to take that many more people in to start outnumbering me, but they're all fairly devastated as far as their morale is concerned. So it's another one of those situations where I'm being particularly cautious, but more so just because I know I've got Italians to deal with as well. I went north here just because there were a lot of individual units with very low morale, so I'm just hoping to wipe these units out as much as I can. So yeah, all 218 completely destroyed. We'll try doing the same thing with these chuckleheads. Actually, let's try and cut off the 1,000 stack. So they are heading to... Where is that? Here. So they will arrive on the 11th of October. We're probably not going to make that in time, depending on where they head next. Of course, we've also got 10,000. Still don't know what army this is, but we've got a lot of people on our side to back us up. Also seems like allying myself with the Polish was a bad idea, because they're doing a very good job of losing these wars. Jesse Quill, thank you for the host again. At least that's what Twitch is claiming. Okay, so let's take a minute and take a look at my faction situation. I can move my Spy Master, so... Definitely don't need to worry about a 70% strength faction any time soon. This is the strongest, but I would just want to see if anybody's doubling up. Yeah, so... This gentleman. Part of the intention of having bloodline, or like all of the duchies held by members of my bloodline, is also the fact that they do get a mild opinion bonus for you. But in practice, that's not actually stopping them from plotting against me. So it's kind of a false hope, to be completely honest. I also know the viewer count sort of dropped a little while ago, but for those of you who are in chat, you're quite quiet. How's everybody's week been? Should maybe explain why I'm moving the way that I am. As nice as it would be to take out the 207 troops, what I'm doing here is I'm taking Astroga first, basically with the intention of moving in a big circle. So I may not be able to take out this 207 here, but the sum, I've got 234 here, I've got 178, so that's a little over 400 troops that I can take out. As soon as I move here, these guys can't really go anywhere without me catching them. So it's just a matter of sort of thinking a little bit about what my next couple of moves are going to be. I'm not going to be able to catch everything, but at least it sort of keeps contributing to that war score. 24 versus 16%. So again, I'm losing a little bit of ground, but in this case here, it's actually the Teutonic Order which is gaining ground. So it sort of seems like everybody's jockeying for second place, whereas I'm still fairly comfortable in number one. Crusade's still only at 52% though, so I still need to keep committing myself. Okay, so I don't have any big surprise groups to worry about right now. The Italians are stuck over here, so this is absolutely a stack that I want to take down. This will make a somewhat meaningful contribution to the war score, both for my contribution to the Crusade and the actual score as well. And unfortunately, they seem to be faster than me, so... So what I'm going to do now, they look like they're heading to Valladolid. We'll see if I can get there in time. So they'll arrive on the 15th of March. I will arrive on the 11th of March. So this means that I'll be able to take them down before they make it to their destination. For some reason, we're losing. As much as I hate to say it, losing troops in these engagements is not actually that bad, because what you'll notice is my monthly balance is slowly creeping up. That is purely a function of lower military costs because of dead troops. Now the drawback of that, of course, is if I have credible threats from my vassals, that becomes a really big problem really fast. But fortunately, my spy master is doing a good job of keeping those factions down. Actually, I think I'll try and take... Yeah, this is a kind of a frustrating fight to go through, just because there's little pockets of Muslim fighters. There's no clear path to kind of taking them all out. We're a long way off from finishing this playthrough, but one thing I was thinking of doing was, when this is done, and when I might take a small break from Crusader Kings when we finish this playthrough, but the next time I play it, one thing I would like to try and do is start at the earliest date as, whatever group I wind up picking. It's kind of dangerous to take a stack of 4,000, but they've got really low morale, so I kind of want to take advantage of that. Hopefully my allies won't betray me. Yeah, they are a lot stronger than I thought they would be. I think we're good, though. We are not good. We are very not good. Alright, we won. Just barely. But one thing I'd like to do is basically start in the Charlemagne period. So it's like 767 or something like that. Make the best empire that I can. Oh, we've got another chance to obligate a vassal, so that's good. And then take that into Europa Universalis 4. That would be my ideal. So, this multiple generation... or sorry, this multiple game... panorama of history. I mean, I guess the true ambition would be to go from the beginning in Charlemagne up to, the final time period for Crusader Kings 2, transition that into Europa Universalis, earliest start date that you can, to the end of that, then into Victoria. I don't believe that crossover can actually happen, and then Victoria into Hearts of Iron. But something tells me that the world will look very different from the expectation in Hearts of Iron. So again, here I'm banking on allies to save my ass, because I only have 15 troops in the theater now. Nope, I'm boned. I was mained by a valiant foeman. Freighter 5, how's it going? Good to see you. Thank you for letting me know about the buzz. I can get that fixed. Should be better now if you can just let me know if it's not working out. Defeat. I don't know if I can contribute anything to the crusade anymore. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's sadly something that I can't identify on my own, which is one of the reasons why I appreciate an active chat. I'm never sure if the sudden drop in viewers is because the I'm not sure if the sudden drop in viewers is because I like my microphone is buzzing, or just because people have gotten tired of watching. So it's always good to get that kind of feedback. So how are you this fine Friday night? Trying to decide if I want to commit more troops. The Teutonic Order is actually nipping at my heels as far as war contributions, so... You had an insane man tell you you were going to jail because you were trying to help him. Funny you should mention it, my king got maimed. Fighting the Muslim infidels. I guess infidel is a Muslim term, but... Yeah, he got wounded on his crusade. Because he's awesome. Alright. I think I am going to raise my personal levies. This is a bit of a dangerous move because of the factions that I need to deal with, but I'm doing a fairly good job of keeping them under control, so... Looks like... Hereward? Is he the guy I want to do next? 22%. Yeah, this is the slightly scarier group, so let's take out the Duke of Galloway. Again, these are all people that I gave their titles. Oh no, sorry, it was the previous guy who gave them their titles. Never mind. I guess they're allowed to hate me. Nobody likes Spain. Or nobody expects Spain. Yeah, the only reason I'm doing this is so I can get my contribution points. So... I think there needs to be a slightly better UI improvement as far as using ships are concerned, because I kind of had to individually click all of those boats. If I select, it's always going to default to land troops, even though I've already given them an order. Should be focusing on France anyways. I mean, it's tempting. Just the thing that I love the most is if, depending on how this crusade turns out, if I can take Spain... I don't need to worry about the West. I can just keep moving up here. I mean, this is such a beautiful natural barrier that I can do such a great conquest of Europe. We'll see, though. I mean, I really want to see how much of this I can take over in Holy Wars before I worry about anything else. Stupid France with their baguettes and their culture. I hope Sophie isn't watching this. I mean, it looks like Aquitaine is sort of the one to beat anyway. I don't know. We'll sort out all the conquest nonsense later. Fleets are so expensive. I'm definitely not going to need all of these ships, so let's cut this in half. Oh, damn it. I don't want all of them to go. Of course I took too many. All right. I don't even know. Yeah, that'll do. I suppose it's just as well. Whoa, this is going to be a problem. Let's move them to the corner and let's get the boat people there as fast as we can. So, I mean, honestly, I wish this crusade was done with because it's costing me money and it's... I've got an ally who really wanted to pick a fight with the Italians who are really strong. So everything I can do to get off of this continent is for the best in my opinion, but it's the hand we've been dealt, and again, I don't want to have spent, like, already the Teutonic Order is pretty much breathing down my throat as far as war contribution. They're probably going to suppress me at this point, so it's entirely possible that I just wound up wasting a whole bunch of time. But we'll do the best that we can, right? If it's really apparent that I'm not going to be able to catch up with the Teutonic Order, then I'll just get another set of boats and I'll bring these guys home. It's one of the reasons why I'm sometimes hesitant to participate in crusades. It's not so much the question of starting it, because it's actually fairly easy to do, but if your goal is to be the top contributor, you kind of need to make sure you bring enough troops. Otherwise, you wind up doing what I did, which is running out of steam partway through. And then the time that it takes you to get back in the game, it's usually somebody's taken your spot. Fate smiles upon me. My wife Denise is pregnant. Guess I need to conquer some lands for the baby. So I'm thinking I'll try to be a hero and take the 1,000 stack, but it looks... Actually, the Pope's probably going to get there before me, so I'll go for the low-hanging fruit and take the 600 troops. Yeah, the Teutons probably just surpassed me with that. Oh, not quite. Alright, so they're there 26th. I'm there November the 1st, so I'll head them off. It looks like I might actually get both of them, so if I do, I'm lucky. I am very unlucky. Alright, so I just lost an advisor. Oh, it was my really good spy master too. Alright, well, we'll take the Bishop of Furness. And I believe it was... Yeah. Let's see whether or not he can do the same magic of bringing the rebels in line. And amazingly, I've still got my edge on the Teutonic Order, so let's see what we can do about getting to Molina on time. They are heading to Burgos. They'll arrive December the 11th. I'll arrive December the 11th, so I don't actually know what happens in that case. I guess we'll find out. Well, moot point. Looks like Aquitaine's already actually doing work. I'm probably not going to get there. Alright, well, I know where I'm going next. December 16th. January 4th, that sucks. So let's get to Lyon as fast as we can. this is slightly less fun just because, yeah, the Teutonic Orders now surpassed my war score, and I don't really have any meaningful ways of improving my contribution. It seems like they're getting to the fight further than me, and they have more troops. All right, obligate the vassal. Looks like the bishop is doing just as good of a job as his predecessor. Noble has distinguished himself in battle. Perhaps I can make use of him. And I think I'm just going to keep chasing down this one stack. Hopefully we catch these guys as well. February 10th? Nope, February 15th. So I'll head here first and then move to the right. Oh, actually looks like we'll catch them. Ah, but the Teutonic Order is here. Stealing all my glory. Alright, so I'm going to go the opposite direction of them just so I can try and get some accomplishments on my own. What would technically be best for me to do is actually divide this into several smaller groups that can take out these small pockets, but the danger of getting caught in a bad spot is a little bit too great for my taste. So I'm just going to accept that I'm probably going to be the junior partner in the crusade. In the meantime, let's... Oh, can't do anything with him until May. Alright, I got a new heir, and it's a son. So I'm going to have to go conquer some territory. And looks like I lost my wife in childbirth. So let's do an ambition to get married, just because that's a quick, easy piety. Okay, a German ally is not bad. But she's ugly. That won't do. Yeah, that works for me. That's 200 prestige, a German ally, and she's young, so... Alright, next step. At this point, I mean, these are all just learning ones, so I think the best route to go is go for the trade. I mean, diplomacy is great anyway because it'll improve people's opinion of me. But the other thing is I want to go for the trait that has the highest chance of actually making it, simply because it's 100 prestige, which is not, you know, I am emperor, so it's not that hard to gain that, but anything I can do to sort of push that advantage is good. She did her only job. Exactly, Frater 5. You think about this game in the right way. Alright, let's go south so we can take out some of these larger stacks. Again, I think the Teutonic Order is pretty much running past me as far as war contribution. I could maybe try sieging some provinces. That might be a little bit better than taking small stacks, but I still feel kind of doubtful about it. We'll see what happens when I take this this group. Okay, they're there July 3rd. I get there July 9th. Not worth it, so we'll just go south. I'm not quite sure what that means. Oh, okay. It's not even in territories I'm worried about. Yeah, I'm really falling behind on this contribution. Let's go bold and go straight into the heart. It doesn't look like the Italians are anywhere to be found, so see if we can maybe take part in some bigger sieges. Or not sieges, but bigger fights. I mean, the nice thing is that at least I've been making money this whole time. I still need to make a decision in terms of whether or not I want to expel the Jewry to deal with the debt, or if I will pay it back through my own means. Honestly, I'm not that worried about the fact that my temple vassals don't like the fact that I'm borrowing from the Jewry. Ugh. My allies always keep getting into fights before I can get there. Where are they headed? Toledo. Okay, perfect. That also gives me a chance to lay siege to it. Hopefully I'll get some credit for that. I'm going to be slowed down by this army, but at least I get some war contribution that way. And the Germans made it. Okay, well, we'll follow. I really don't want to hang out in Toledo and die to attrition if I can avoid it. And there are the Germans again. Well, I guess it's better than the Teutonic Order, actually. Let's see if I... Yeah, I'm definitely not going to be making... Well, you know what? With that in mind, then, why not I just save myself a lot of trouble? I'm going to get me some boats. I think just for the sake of security, I'm going to bring all the boats, even though it's going to cost me quite a bit. No way I can... So here's my reasoning, right? We're at 6% war score. The Muslims are broken. So at this point, unless I can get a significant war contribution to outstrip the 8,000 Crusaders, there's no way I'm going to be the top contributor to this crusade. So rather than waste my time doing that, I will take my troops home, and that way I still get the benefit of having contributed to the crusade, but I don't need to worry about the big hit to my wealth and just troop losses. So I can get back to focusing on my nation's affairs, and then this crusade will eventually figure itself out, and hopefully by that time I will I'll have rebuilt my strength to maybe start worrying about that invasion of Iceland. A Jewish exile fleeing persecution elsewhere in Europe has showed up in your court. He has spent time abroad and has gifted him with many connections, and by all accounts he is an able diplomat. He would make a fine chancellor. Exactly, I did my part. Oh, I forgot to educate my child. So this is a daughter who doesn't have much of a chance of becoming a ruler, so let's just find somebody to... Alright, Offa's got exactly what I want for... So, improving the opinion by 20, handing off my daughter to somebody who doesn't like me is a nice way to turn people to my favor. Alright, so let's drop the ships. And actually, we're not too bad as far as an army size is concerned. There's only about 2,000 more troops that I need to... sort of need to get back in at maximum capacity. I forgot to appoint a successor, so let's just load it up with somebody who's young and thinks the world of me. I suppose I could stand to do some variety because I don't really want to spend that much time in this menu, but I also want people who will theoretically give me money. All right. What I think I'm going to do now is... So none of these people are actually my vassals, so I don't want to help them with their wars. I think the next thing I am going to do is claim Iceland. We'll see whether or not I can declare war right away. I cannot. Because he's Christian. So next step here is to start fabricating a claim. And then what I'm going to do now, I'm about half an hour late on my break, so I'm going to take my first break of the evening. I'll ask about 3 minutes of your time, maybe slightly more. I'm also missing my break sign, so let me just take a minute while I find that. But yeah, I just want to kind of refill my water, get up and stretch. I encourage you guys to do the same, and then we'll be back for... This is going to be a Crusader Kings 2 only stream tonight, so I hope you like it. I know I like streaming it. If you came for something different, I think we are going to have to maybe meet again another time. And I also still need to figure out how... Right. So, I was going to say, it might be slightly longer than my normal break, so that approximate 3 is probably on the underestimating side. I also wanted to take a minute to thank everybody who's helped me test out the Twitch alerts. It looks like the following button is doing the... still has a slight delay as far as the audio is concerned. I'm not quite sure how to fix that. I'll probably tinker with that off the stream. I'm going to assume the donation has the same one as well, but I suspect that one probably won't come up as much. But yeah, we'll get it working. Hopefully, it's a positive contribution to the stream rather than a distraction. But with that in mind, I'm going to take a couple minutes break, and we will see you guys shortly. Alright, we're back. Thank everybody for dealing with the... break. Let's take a quick look here. Okay. So... I think I still had somebody working on factions, didn't I? Where's my spy master? Right, okay, let's get my spy master working on Moray. He sort of seems to be the next logical candidate. I'm actually getting through these factions a little bit faster than I was anticipating, so... there might be an argument for taking Sigric of Connaught instead, except for the fact that he's relatively old, so he might actually die out before I need to worry about the faction, whereas the Duke of Moray is... well, I mean, he's 53, so he's not exactly a spring chicken, but it's probably better to go for the younger of the candidates. I've taken a while since I've gone through the plots, so let's just end the plots that are trying to kill family members. And then I'll worry about the ones that are trying to kill people otherwise. Looks like Moray's still trying to claim... Oh, well, doesn't want to give up on the plot. Fair enough. Not crazy about family members taking duchies from each other. I don't... So, I'm of two minds as far as the idea of having strong vassals. The good news would be if I wanted to change the laws, I would be able to do it a little bit more effectively if I had effectively, you know, large sort of mini kings in my realm. The problem is that if they join a faction against me, it's very likely that I'll have a rebellion on my hands, and one with a fairly strong opponent. So what I prefer to do is make sure that people will only have one title, and do everything I can to make sure that they don't claim more duchies. And basically the reasoning there is that it does mean that I need to send my spy master to different areas of the country to, you know, to deal with these factions. But ultimately it means that the gains that they get are fairly small. And that basically I find it easier to control people. The cost is, of course, as you can see, I'm pretty inefficient in running this realm. But it does mean that I'm a little bit more secure in my position as well. So, what I'm going to do now, so I don't want her to die just because she likes me. Same deal here. If they have if they have a greater than 0 opinion of me, I'll usually try to end the plot. If they have a negative opinion, I don't actually mind them dying. Like, this is an example here where 4 opinion, I'm not too sad to see them go, but given the fact that there are a lot of people who don't like me in this realm, I'm being a little bit more lenient. Alright, looks like some of these wars are wrapping up, so I'm just gonna jump the speed up to a 5. And we'll kind of wait for... We'll wait for the time to take its course. Right now we're just dealing with all the begging letters. A book without a title was pushed into my hands by a hooded man clad in midnight blue. Something was said, but was lost in the confusion. The book is still there. It wants me to read it. I'm going to take a quick look and see if there's any research that I can do. Yep. The Third Pomeranian Holy War for Greater Poland has ended, and King Bartosz of Pomerania lost. The book is gibberish, but also enlightening. But even if I struggle with some chapters, its mystery still engrosses me. Something is concealed in the book's language, and I am determined to find out what. The book's secret eludes me. Just going to take a look here. So I can do popular customs or religious customs. I can also do tolerance, but again, I'm not going to take that until I have a worry about having different religious groups. I'm thinking religious customs is the way to go here, just so, one, I can offset the lending to the Jewry, but also so I can have a slightly better chance of having bishops that will be contributing into the state coffers. As you can see, they all love the Pope. Yeah, welcome to running an empire, Freighter 5. There is a lot of scheming that happens. It's actually one of the reasons why I think people recommend starting as a count in the game, because you just have to do a lot less if you're a smaller nation. You have the same number of advisors, so you get sort of the same moves. But when you're running an empire, it just takes, 4 or 5 vassals that are mad at you, and all of a sudden everything goes off the rails. Took me several weeks before the mystery of the book revealed itself to me. The gibberish parts were encoded, and after many hours of trying to decipher the code, I managed to break it and construct a key that made the book easier to read. The mystery is still not solved. I gained the trait Mystic, which will increase my stewardship, my learning, and I get along with other mystics. Here we're just kind of burning through the time so we can get these wars wrapped up. More importantly, gives the Chancellor some time to work on Iceland. Redivin, thank you very much for stopping by. And yes, I definitely am a schemer. Not quite sure why the game is spending so much time loading. It feels like it's doing more of that tonight. Nope, haven't taken over the world yet. We're going to start by taking over Iceland, and once the crusade is done, we'll see whether or not Spain is worth conquering. If it's not, we'll probably go east to some of the Scandinavian areas. Freighter 5 is very determined for me to take over France. We've got a few different places we can take over, actually, but we'll see where we're sitting. One of my hopes this time around was also to build up my infrastructure. Actually, speaking of which, I should really see what that costs. So I'll do this for my capital just because I tend to keep my steward there. What we've got. So Castletown I don't have the technology for. And I believe the rest of these are all military advances, which it's definitely... I definitely don't need to improve any more military. So I think the first thing I'm going to do actually is all of the keeps that I own, I'm going to make sure that the Castletown is... The only thing holding that back is technological advancements. Shipyard's only going to give me galleys, so I'm not worried about that. Yeah, so basically castle infrastructure hasn't quite saturated my realm to a point where I can upgrade the castle town, which is fair enough. Now I could presumably do this in other territories, but I don't necessarily want to strengthen any of my vassals, and I can do improvements to cities instead. So let's see what's going on here. City Guard isn't going to help me out, so we'll consider one of my other holdings. I'm also going to hold off on bishoprics just because that's a little bit more uncertain income. Looks like I'm limited as far as my upgrading options are concerned. It's a mistake. Okay, this port being done there. And actually I probably should go for a university. I think I'll just take a minute to see what these will do. So fort level, city walls will increase my tax income, so that's one to keep in mind. Courts as well. So basically I want universities, courts, and city walls. Ah, and you know what? I should have gone for improved keeps, because that's what allows me to build city walls. Good to know. So yeah, I guess I'll take a quick look at the bishoprics. It might just be an idea to hold off and keep building up the money. But oh yeah, it absolutely is just a matter of time before I take over the world relevant. Will extend to India sooner or later. Okay, so church walls will give me some extra tax income. Building a church will give me piety, but I'm not so much worried about that right now. And a monastic school. Interesting. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to sit on my income as much as I can. I think the way to go here is actually to try and build as many universities as I can. That'll also give me a chance to build up the technology points so I can get improved keeps, and I can start building city walls as well. Looks like my Chancellor's not as good at fabricating titles as my... Oh, you know what? I don't know where the capital for Outis land is. Yeah, it's here. Okay, yeah, this is the right spot. I mean, hopefully I'm getting a claim on the whole duchy. That would be best. But we'll see. Actually, it tells me the probability of the plot working. So 17% chance yearly? Yeah, that's a fairly good odd. Agostino di Ravenna is no longer a participant in the Catholic Crusade for Andalusia. His liege Malecestra Hucbaldi joined the Italian claim on Tarragona War as attacker. Sure. And eventually this stupid crusade will be over soon. Okay. My liege, during my stay in Westmoreland, I have found a great philosopher who has agreed to help me with my studies to enhance the culture of the province. With your permission, I would suggest that we employ him, and I spend a third of my treasury for 50 cultural tech points. I need to think about this, actually, because what is that really going to get me? So the next thing I would bring up, I mean, realistically, it's tolerance, not popular customs, but 400 and 320. So 1/6 of the way for a third of my trip. I'm going to say that's outrageously expensive. I don't normally like doing that, but I have a suspicion I'm actually going to be expelling the Jewry sooner than later, so it seems like just 111 that I'd throw down the toilet. The trick with that expulsion is to make sure that I do it when this guy's older. But he's also maimed, so he can die a little bit earlier than expected. Hey, I've got another son. See, I actually need to start claiming some territory soon, otherwise I'm going to have unlanded sons. You've spent some time immersed in tomes describing the various cultures surrounding your realm. Though some of what you learned seems suspect, you've still obtained a better understanding of how to approach foreigners. Your diplomatic ability has improved as a result. Things would be simpler if everyone was Anglo-Saxon. One of my main reasons for actually wanting this crusade to finish too is so I can get back to things like going on pilgrimage. My liege, I write you with shocking news. Aine Ngonigat Glenbarnick has tried to have me assassinated to make sure I wouldn't discover her plot to kill Christina Gritstad. Expose her immediately. I don't know how to pronounce any of these titles, to be completely honest, but let's see what's going on with these plots. Still can't convince him. Can convince her. So technology is spreading at a reasonable enough rate now, I think, but not quite fast enough for my taste. Still not quite sure why this port is being built. I think it was probably being built by somebody else when I took over the territory. If I spent money on that, I'm pretty... Oh, wait. Tax income. That's probably why I built it then. My liege, my work in Veniceland seems to have come to fruition. By bribing, cajoling, extorting, threatening, and forging documents, I have managed to fabricate a claim. Use it! And we are going all out. So I've got 6,800 in levies, which is a small pain just because it's not a convenient number for my ships. So I'm going to use the vassal levies on this one, and we've got 56. That might be enough. And here I play this delightful game of trying not to trigger my... Try not to trigger my land troops while getting rid of my fleets. Problem is, every fleet that I don't find... Oh, you know what? This would have been a perfect one. Oh well. Every fleet that I don't... deactivate winds up being a pretty heavy hit to my treasury, and if I want to be building infrastructure, I want to keep those costs to a minimum. Okay, I think this will be enough. Okay, 82 ships is definitely more than enough. Although I do have a retinue, so I should still have a surplus. What am I paying for this? Yikes, still losing money. So I think the trick on this one is basically going to be to move my... get my troops into place and then just leave them on the island. Because this fight's going to be ridiculously expensive. Well, looks like it's toned down a little bit, but... Oh my god, and I still need more ships.